Hey, all you crypto boomers, it is a special day because we've got Crypto Jay on with us today, and we are super excited. Been talking just kind of a pre-recorded talk, and he's just got some exciting stuff to share. And I'm going to turn it over here shortly to Bud so that he can just chat with Jay. And we've got George on the line, so he may pipe in here and there. But again, what an exciting time to be in this space and to, like we say, not just invest but create wealth. But before we get into the interview with Jay, why don't you click that subscribe button, click on the bell so that you get notifications whenever we put up a new video, and share this with your friends. And don't forget to check out the link to Jay's teachings and his Patreon group. And with that, I am going to pass this over to Bud. Bud, are you there?
Yeah. Hi, Paul. Thanks a lot. Hi, guys. It's great to be speaking with the crypto boomers today.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Jay, you on the line?
Yes, sir. I'm right here. Thank you guys for having me again. It's always a pleasure to come and speak on the channel and talk about all the interesting things taking place in crypto. I'm excited.
Great. Yeah, there's nothing going on, is there? Nothing's happened. Oh, man. What an exciting time to be in this space. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Bud, and you guys just have your chat, and I'm going to listen.
Me too.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is an exciting space, that's for sure, Paul. And one of the things, a lot of the listeners are boomers, baby boomers. They're maybe coming into retirement. They've got some wealth. But, you know, one of the things we get, Jay, is that people still think of Bitcoin as possibly a payment vehicle, you know, versus an investment vehicle. And I wondered if we could just talk about how important it is to switch the boomers' minds to thinking of this as an investment, a savings mechanism rather than a payment vehicle.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to talk about that. You know, when I first came into Bitcoin, I was looking at all the different network effects. But when I looked at how little amount of coins there are, so I think today we have, I don't know, roughly 18 million, 18.5 million, something like that, minted Bitcoins. The miners tell us that a couple million have been lost. The miners report tells us that 60 or so % of all the Bitcoins have been sitting in storage for years. So with 2 million of 18, that leaves you 16. Then you take, say, 60, 70% out there on the marketplace. There's not that many coins in circulation. Now, obviously, with the price getting higher and higher and higher, I mean, geez, it was just seemed like just yesterday we were buying Bitcoin again in the 4,000s. Do you remember that? And now we're, you know, we've hit almost $60,000. So the higher the price goes, the more money it takes to move this market around. Just like the $13 trillion gold industry, you can't just move gold in a day, because it's such a big market. But the baby boomers do need to realize that when it comes to an asset class of investment, it does not get more pristine than Bitcoin. It is immutable. It is unconfiscatable. There are no attack vectors coming for Bitcoin because it's too stinking expensive. And if they'll ever get their mind wrapped around the fact that they're not going to find a mysterious mine full of Bitcoins over in the Grand Canyon, they're not going to find a mysterious mine of Bitcoins just buried just beneath the surface over in Dubai, like they do gold all the time. They're always finding more gold. And now they're talking about even mining gold off of asteroids, right? It's not going to happen. There is a finite amount of this. And really, if you look at the numbers we just gave out, Bud, as far as percentages, there's not even enough gold for every millionaire in the United States, not the world, not the whole world. And people need to know Bitcoin is a world object. It's not a United States object. This is global. Look at what Africa's doing right now. Africa's turned into Bitcoin. Look at what Venezuela did. They turned to the Bitcoin. Look at what Iran is doing. They're dedicating 33% of their resources to mining Bitcoin. So this is a global thing, but I'm talking about just the United States. There is not enough Bitcoin for every millionaire to own one. There's not enough Bitcoin because right now there's 38, 39 million millionaires. If all of them wanted to buy one Bitcoin, they couldn't do it. They could not do it. And so kudos to you, Bud. Kudos to Paul and George and most of the folks that we are affiliated with for having at times in their wallet 5, 10, 20, 100. I know I've had hundreds of Bitcoin in my wallet at times. And yet, look how far ahead of the game we are. The rest of the world is chasing us into Bitcoin. And so, if the baby boomers can wrap their mind around the fact that not only Bitcoin, but there are multiple cryptocurrencies that do not have a choice but to become one of the most pristine investable assets there's ever been, then they're going to miss out on the boat quite a bit. I mean, this boat doesn't keep going in this direction forever, but it is going in this direction now.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of an episode that I've recorded on this show. For you, those of you listening, you can go back and listen to that. It was an experience of mine when I first got into Bitcoin, and I was spending Bitcoin on cups of coffee and pizzas and hotel rooms. And I tell you, if you go back to that episode, listeners, then you can get to find out how much I actually spent in today's value on that hotel back in 2015 on Bitcoin. One of the things here, Jay, is that we talk about scarcity. Most of the boomers have lived their entire lives in the fiat currency system and probably don't even are not particularly aware of what fiat is. Why has it taken the world so long to wake up to scarcity is important for money?
Well, again, all I can give you is my opinion, and my opinion is that most people form their opinions from what they hear on the television. And unfortunately, the television today is probably the last place you'd want to get your information from. But most people listen to a talking head and they don't even know what a talking head means. A talking head on the television is someone who's being paid. They go through a makeup room. Look at these people on CNBC. Look at the collar of their shirt. It's got makeup all over it. They go through a makeup room to become somebody they're not, to come out on a camera to say something they've been told, and not only told, but paid to say. That's what a talking head is. And most people are forming their opinions of the dollar or of Bitcoin. I mean, let's take a recap when we start thinking about what the talking heads have told us. So the talking heads would come forward and tell the world, you and I didn't get to hear Warren Buffett say crypto is rat poison. We didn't get to hear him say that. But all of the news channels came out, be it true or not, and they had a picture of Warren Buffett sitting there somewhere in a nice, pretty suit. And they said, Warren Buffett says today, Bitcoin is rat poison. Cryptocurrency is rat poison. And at the time that they were saying that, here you had a person like Mr. Buffett buying 80,000, 100,000 acres to build a blockchain city in Nevada. Here you have Mr. Buffett in the planning stages with his team of creating something called Energy Web Token. You've got, JP Morgan saying, we're going to get into crypto at some time. At some point, we'll get into crypto. Yet in 2017, the Chinese released 3 days after Bitcoin fell by $3,000 because Jamie Dimon said, anybody in our firm caught buying Bitcoin is going to be fired. This is bad, bad, bad. You don't want Bitcoin. So the price fell by $3,000. And lo and behold, the Chinese released it. We've all seen the pictures of it, that JP Morgan was the third largest buyer of Bitcoin 3 days later after the price fell by $3,000. So again, think about the narrative that we're being told. In fact, let's regress a little bit. Let's regress just a hair. Let's go back to Plato. Plato created the first ever university of wisdom. And in that university, one of the things that Plato really talked about a lot was if you control the narrative, you control the people. If you control the narrative, you control the people. And you can actually take that statement and expand it and say, if you control this, you control this. There's a lot of things you can expand from out of that. And when you ask me, why is it taking people so long to come around? Well, the first thing would be that happens to be the journey they're on, and you're on a journey that's different. You've been around a long time buying pizzas, with Bitcoin for a long time, and rental cars and hotel rooms, and they're just now coming around. But I would bet if I was a betting man, and I don't know the answer to this, so I'm going out on a limb here, but I would bet you don't spend the bulk of your time in front of a TV, do you, bud?
No, you're right.
So therefore,
Unless you can call YouTube a TV channel.
yeah, no, that's more trying to get real information, right? So
True.
in essence, when you look at what my father used to call it the idiot box. He used to tell us kids as a kid, he'd say, get out in front of the idiot box. So if you look at what the idiot box is telling people, they're telling them, stay away from Bitcoin, stay away from crypto, bad, evil, ooh, poison, put the poison sign up, stay away, when in reality, they're all involved. And so from that perspective, I mean, I would never come on your show and talk about conspiracy theory. I'm telling you something that anybody with a set of fingers and a keyboard can look up for themselves right on the internet. All these people saying bad, 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 stay away are involved. And so then you have to begin to look into their motives, but let's don't digress that far. Let's just stick with the actual question. Why is it taking them so long to wake up? It's because they form their opinions. They don't think for themselves. They're not thinking for themselves about a vaccine. They're not thinking for themselves about climate change. They're not thinking for themselves about cryptocurrency. They're not thinking for themselves about the stock market. They're forming their opinion based on the opinion of others. And that's one of the things over at the Bitcoin Academy that George and I do is we try to help people to wake up, to begin to think for themselves. I am not looking for Crypto J clones. George is not looking for any clones. We are looking for people that have the ability to think for themselves. And in fact, we embrace the ideas of others on a regular basis. And we're happy to see it, to have it, all the above. Does that help?
It does help, and certainly I'm a student of the Bitcoin Academy and your Patreon channel as well. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of the psychology that it's helped me with. I've gone from the person who was spending Bitcoin to now valuing it as the way you'd say that it's incredibly valued. Let me just mention then, we're talking about investing in crypto, Jay, and we're very passionate about it. All of us on this channel are heavily invested. I would say most of our wealth is probably tied up in crypto, which to the outside world may seem crazy. But what do you mean when you're using phrases like you have done in the past, where you say you're going all in, or how much a person should actually have in the market?
That's such a good question. And I had a really good friend of mine ask me in 2017. They said to me when I was talking with them emphatically about crypto, and they did end up putting about $100,000 into crypto due to our conversation that lasted a good 3 hours. But they kept asking me, well, what are you diversified into? What are you diversified into? And I think now the Raoul Pauls of the world are finally seeing what I saw then. And what I saw then was there is nothing else to be in. There is nothing on the planet that has ever come close to performing. Look, at the top of 2017, Bitcoin's performance from start to finish was 2 million%. 2 million%. I challenge anyone. Show me an asset class that's as pristine as Bitcoin, and it's had a 1 million%. How about a 500,000%? Just show me one of those. I can't get anybody to do it. And so from that perspective, when I say to people, I'm all in, here's what I mean. I'm not going to save dollars. I don't care what your fiat currency is. You could be it could be pounds. I'm not going to save pounds. It could be the Japanese yen. I'm not going to save Japanese yen. Why would I ever save in a bank account something that they print ad nauseum all the time? And look, the printing of dollars has moved from printing to now injecting. They don't even print it anymore. What does that mean? Has anybody ever stopped to think about what that means? That they're not printing dollars. They don't even crank up the printing press anymore, and they just inject it. What that means is from the very top, and I've had it explained to me, the difference between a blue screen and a gray screen. They want to move money into the system. They just move it from a blue screen to a gray screen, and boom, it's in the system. How do you think they come up with this garbage in 2019 where they go, overnight, we injected $300 billion into the repo market? Somebody sat at a computer and pushed a button and said 300 million from here to here. We just created poof, thin air, and it didn't even cost us anything. We didn't have to buy the paper. We didn't have to buy the ink. We didn't have to do anything. So what I tell people when they ask me that question, what are you diversified in? I will tell you this. I have a little bit of silver. My silver is mostly a speculation that from a perspective of technology, I see silver being way more valuable in our future than gold, because silver has some attributes to it that can be used in technology that you're never going to find in gold. Gold is kind of already come and gone as it relates to using it for technology. It's not as usable as silver. Look at China. China's upset right now because China gave up all their silver reserves when they were having opium wars with the British. So they're out of silver. They're upset because everything today takes silver. Silver, silver, silver. Got to have silver. And in our future, even more and more are we going to need silver. So I have a bit of a speculative play. I'm actually not the guy that sits around waiting on the world to end and the internet to go down and all the food to dry up, thinking that I'm going to have to pull out my 10 snips and cut into my silver eagles and create a small enough piece of silver to buy a bag of groceries. However, I could always do that. I'm not really speculating on that, but certainly it does give me that ability to do if need be. So my speculation is more around the fact that I think in the future, because of the industrial use case, I think silver really goes up. So I have some silver, not a lot of silver. By most people's standards, maybe a lot, but by my standard, not a lot. Outside of that, I don't want to be in anything but crypto. I don't want to be in dollars. I don't want to be in yen. I don't want to be in Turkish lira. I don't want to be in any of those currencies. I want to have my money in crypto. And because currently crypto is valued predominantly, when you look across the exchanges, what you predominantly see is crypto valued in dollars. Yes, you're beginning to see it in the Canadian dollar. Yes, you're beginning to see, but predominantly you're seeing it valued in dollars. And here's what I know about dollars when our government is going to print more of it than they've ever printed. I mean, they just recently, this past year, printed more dollars than has ever been printed in 200 years, and they did that in 1 quarter. That's the beginning of a trend. Jay, how could you know that? Well, because the trend's alive and well. There was a time when our government would say, Congress has voted and we're putting $50 million into XYZ stimulus. Then they would say, Congress comes back today with a unanimous vote. They're going to print $300 million. We went from 50 to 300. Congress comes back today, and for the first time ever, they voted to print $1 billion. And here's where it's all going. Congress comes together and says, oh my gosh, we're going to do a $600 billion print and we're going to go after the infrastructure of blah, blah, blah. The trend is alive and well. And it's gone from millions to hundreds of millions to billions to hundreds of billions to now trillions. And folks, it's going to hundreds of trillions. Just sit back and let the clock tick and you're going to see that. Well, if that's the case, and I believe it is, the trend is in place. There's nothing going against the trend. There's nobody going to stop those people from doing it. They're getting very wealthy doing it. I mean, look at the 1.9 trillion they have on the table right now, where they're going to give money to the San Francisco Bridge, and they're going to do all these other things with the money other than stimulate the actual economy. They're doing what they want to with the free money that they are putting in place that they don't even print anymore. So what I had to look at was I had to go, what is the fastest horse in the race? And the fastest horse in the race is cryptocurrency. And notice I didn't say Bitcoin. I said cryptocurrency. So today, how I view the investable money that I have is I view it as, and I told people this back in 2017, I said, look, I'm not here to give you advice, but if you were asking my opinion, here's what my opinion would be. Have all of your money in cryptocurrency. But that comes with a huge responsibility of knowing what cryptocurrency to have it in, because you can put your money in the wrong cryptocurrency and you'll never see the money again. That hasn't happened to me yet. Hasn't happened to me yet. I don't see it that it might happen to me. Like, I don't feel like it will. But hopefully what I have done is I've taken 20 years of investing, realizing that the number one thing that people miss when they become an investor is allocation. And I have put into place in my crypto investing, I have allocated myself well. So there may be one crypto over here that deals with, you know, sustainable energy in Australia called Power Ledger. So I got some of that. There's one over here where they're trying to become the world standard of an organization for all the power companies to fall up under and call it the Power Alliance. And that would be Energy Web Token. Oh, by the way, just happens to be owned and run by Warren Buffett, I might add, the guy who says cryptocurrency is rat poison, okay? So there's some diversification. Then you may have a coin over here you own called 1inch, and 1inch is a new decentralized platform allowing kind of what I call heavy hitters in crypto to do a $100,000 transaction or more completely decentralized on their own from the comfort of their pajamas on their bed. You don't have to go to a bank. You don't have to go to an exchange. Well, I want to be invested in that. Then you may have, you know, Ethereum over here where every platform on the planet is building on, and already our governments are trading bonds with Ethereum smart contracts. Why? A smart contract allows you the ability to remove bankers and lawyers because you can't lie. Software can't lie. So now remove the bankers and remove the lawyers, depend on the software, and the software can't lie, steal, and cheat. And a lot of people just lost their jobs, didn't they? And so from that perspective, I feel well allocated in crypto, and I give myself the opportunity when one over here is going nuts, that's fantastic. And this one over here is kind of calm right now, and then that one goes up. And so my opinion and what I shared with people in 2017 was, if you've got your money sitting in the bank just because it feels good, it feels nice and secure and feels good, what I told them was, go read the Dodd-Frank Act. The Dodd-Frank Act. And here's the other thing I told them. I said, you know the 35 pieces of paper they give you when you open a bank account that nobody reads? And they give you a folder, and the folder has their logo on it, and it all feels real official, and the people behind the desk have a suit on, and they give you that folder and send you home, and you signed 3 or 4 pieces of paper. You have no idea what you signed. I told them, I said, go home and read that. And read in there where it says This is no longer a bank account. It's called a deposit account. And oh, by the way, you're a third party creditor. Can I just tell you something, Bud? I feel really good knowing that I can get in my car and I can go get access to my cryptos anytime I want to. I don't need a banker. I don't need a lawyer. I don't need permission. I was on the phone this morning with a friend who was just trying to wire $10,000 to an exchange to buy crypto. And he recently at the same bank wired $250,000. And the bank came back and said, there's an internal problem. We need to know a lot more about your transaction before we can complete it. If you'll call us and complete this questionnaire, maybe we can continue with your transaction. His money, he thinks, but in reality, it's in a bank. So it's in a deposit account, not a bank account. And he's a third party creditor to his own money when he puts it in a bank. Most people don't know these things. The baby boomers that have all their money saved up, they don't know these things. They haven't looked into it. They have their eyes focused on linen, flowery shirts, walking on beaches, enjoying the hard efforts they've put in for 30, 40, 50 years, and they're not really focused on it. I feel the need to be focused on it and to share that information because I have a feeling there's a time coming where they could be hurt very badly by the fact that there's an act out there called the Dodd-Frank Act. And let's don't forget that act that puts it in place for a bank to be able to bail in on a baby boomer, bail in on their life savings. They go, look, I've worked hard. I've got $27 million in the bank. I'm going to live off a little bit of investments and interest, and I'm going to go walk that beach in my flowery shirt, right? What they haven't looked at is the Dodd-Frank Act, where it says in there that that's not their money. And the bank can bail in on their money in exchange for their money shares. If you don't think it can happen, just look at what happened in Cyprus. It can happen. It was a trial run, and now it's a law in place in these United States where it can take place. And you know what's the most funny thing about it? The Dodd-Frank Act was not called the Dodd-Frank Act when it first came around. Do you know what it was called, Bud? It was called the Consumer Protection Act. Is there anything about it that offers protection to the consumer when in the act they're telling the bank, you now have permission by law to take all the money out of your accounts of your customers and replace it with shares of stock? I don't find that to be it's not a really warm and fuzzy feeling that I get going to bed at night. So for me, and I know I'm taking a long time on your question here, but this is really important, especially to baby boomers who have more money right now than any other generation. And where's that money sitting for most of them? In the bank. So for a lot of those people, I hope they're hearing my words today. They need to get their money. Okay, let me say it this way because I got to put out the precursor. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. So let me say it a different way. I was about to say it the wrong way. In my opinion, if they have their money in the bank, they are far more at risk than if they have their money in cryptocurrency in their own wallet. Let George teach them. I don't care how old you are. You can learn to do this. We have people that are 85 years old in our organization, and we've taught them how to do everything, and they love it. And they have control of their money. By the way, did you know, Bud, that there's a crypto exchange called Nash, N-A-S-H, and the symbol of their coin is NEX, N-E-X. And did you know that in the second quarter of this year, they're talking about bringing out decentralized savings accounts and decentralized checkbooks on your cryptocurrency? I mean, imagine a world, Bud, where we could potentially, I'm not saying we will, but I'm hoping, but potentially have a decentralized checkbook where we don't have to ask a bank ever to spend a dime of our cryptocurrency, and there's a conversion that takes place behind the scenes. We write a check, we buy this, we get groceries, you purchase a car, you purchase a home, and boom, it comes right out of your crypto. You no longer have to even go to dollars. To me, that tells me that there's probably a little bit more time, but we're coming to a time where people will begin to value things in cryptocurrency. Notice again, I didn't say Bitcoin, but in cryptocurrency versus now, the whole world is valued in the dollar. I think this is a long transition period. I don't think it's tomorrow. I don't think it's in the next 3 years. I think there's a long transition period here, but more and more and more, just like Tesla recently saying, hey, you can buy your car with us in Bitcoin. They're very smart. They want to increase the number of Bitcoins they have, right? Let me give the viewers and the listeners, let me give them a tip. If you're going to purchase something in Bitcoin or with your cryptocurrency, let me give you a tip. Plan your purchases at the top. Well, what do you mean, Jay? Plan them at the top. Well, get with a good coach. I'm a pretty good coach. Most people would say to you, I'm a pretty good coach. Let your coach help you identify when a top is, meaning that we were buying Bitcoin back again in 2018 when it came up off the bottoms of 3,100. Then we were able to, if we wanted to, again buy it in the 4,000s when it came up off the March fall, the liquidation event. But now I've had everybody holding, you know how in the movie Braveheart where he goes, hold, hold,
Yeah, you're
hold,
right.
and then he lets everybody go. Well, I've had everybody holding, and from all the way back at $4,000 and $5,000, I was telling people, we're going to 55, 60K. We're going to 55, 60K. The best people on the internet were saying Bitcoin's not going to break 20,000 until 2021. We broke 20,000 in 2020. The best people out there were going, when it breaks 20,000, we'll maybe get to 35. Okay? I'm not patting me on the back. I'm just saying that there are some things that I understand after 20 years of doing this and being able to be connected to some of the people I'm connected to, where I can get to some really good targets. And I've even told people, if we go past 55, 60K, the next real stopping point is up 6 figures. I'm not even going to give the number on your channel because I don't want to take away the value of the people that pay for this, okay? But the point I'm trying to say to you is get a coach and let them show you where some really good topping points are and plan your purchases accordingly. Like if you were going to sell your Bitcoin to pay off your house, then do it when your Bitcoin is at a top, not when it's at a bottom, not when it's in the middle, not when it's right in the middle of a run. If you're going to take your Bitcoin and go buy a Tesla with it, buy it when your Bitcoin is at the top. Like you, Bud, you said, hey, back when I didn't know much better, I was buying coffee and I was buying hotel rooms and whatever. And you now look back at it and you go, oh my God, that hotel room cost me $7,000 because you can do the math and
Well,
you used your Bitcoin.
it was a bit more than that, Jay, but that's why we're trying to help the boomers, because we don't want to make what we do is we try to help them avoid making the same mistakes as we've done as we come into this space. And it's all about education. And certainly we all get very educated by participating in the Bitcoin Academy and over at your Patreon channel as well. So just wanted to wrap this up then, Jay, and just say
I got one thing,
yeah,
guys. I got so enthralled in listening to everything that I got one point, and this goes to actually what Jay was just talking about. But one of my friends that's also a member of the Patreon and the Bitcoin Academy told me yesterday that his wife, and I knew this, his wife wants an R8, an Audi R8, and has wanted one, and they've been kind of looking, and so he invested $5,000 into one of the coins that has got a multiple X factor, and he said, "You watch." He said, "I'm going to buy that R8 for $5,000."
Yeah, and he will do it too.
He will do it.
I have a friend of mine that just sold some Bitcoin and paid off his house. He's 62 years old, and he told me where he paid or what he paid for that crypto that he sold. And he's the payoff of his house, which he's got about a $1.2 million estate where he lives. and I'm not at liberty to knowing what he owed on it, but he did tell me that from what he sold to pay the house off, this was 2 days ago, he said, I bought that in your educational group. He said, I bought that Bitcoin so far back that he said, I have $4,500 invested in the payoff of my house. And that's how people have to start looking at this.
Yes.
And I would like to say in wrapping up, Bud, that when it comes to crypto boomers, I think one of the number one thing that some of those people will kind of run from, and I want them to embrace this, not run from it, is crypto is very techy, but it's not as complicated as the crypto boomers will think. They're going to think it's out of their reach because all they've ever done is email and do an Excel spreadsheet. But look, we have a system in place where if they'll just give themselves some compassion and give themselves a little bit of time, they can learn how to do this and to run to it, not run from it. Because this is available to every person at every age. And yes, every year it does get a little easier, but don't let that keep you from getting involved and waiting, because every year it gets more expensive as well. You come into it later and you can buy a whole lot less of it.
Absolutely. My 82-year-old dad is finally getting into it, and I worked with him for maybe 30 minutes, and he's totally got it. So he'll have no trouble with it. So
Can I share one last story?
Love
You got
to.
time for that? I'll keep it quick. I've got a friend of mine, a very, very close friend of mine, that put $130,000 into 5 cryptocurrencies in December. And they did this on my council. Like I said, a very close friend of mine. I can tell them what I think they should be doing. They put $130,000 in crypto in December. And this person is 80 years old this year.
Wow.
This year, they'll be 80 years old. And that person, their crypto right now is over $500,000. Well, not right now, because we just had a little bit of a dip, but 3 days ago, their crypto was over $500,000 since the 23rd of December.
Incredible.
Now, that person just changed the rest of their retirement.
Yes. Absolutely. And what we have our hands on here, again, it goes to what you've taught and what you continue to teach. And that is, it is a vehicle that does not come around all the time. And it is a vehicle that will create wealth if you know what you're doing and you follow Jay's teachings.
Thank you, buddy.
That's
Thank you,
right.
Daddy.
And Paul, I do think the boomers get it, right? I think the boomers absolutely get it. They're of a generation where their valuables. I mean, my great grandfather died with thousands of bags of sugar up in his attic, and so that generation they valued scarcity. They valued things that we value differently, and so I think the boomers do get the whole scarcity argument, Bitcoin, and certainly it's proven that those of 80 years plus still can learn. So absolutely wonderful episode today, guys. Any wrapping thoughts before we end this?
I was just going to say thank you for having me again. I love coming, and I'll be happy to come again next month if you'd like.
Oh, we absolutely will, Jay. And we really appreciate you explained it in such a way that's so easy to follow. And I tell you what, our most viewed video is the first video or the first chat that we had with you, and for good reason. And after that particular one, I don't know about you, Bud, but I've had several people reach out to me and ask me, what they need to do to get into the space. And even my some friends of mine have gotten their kids have heard them talk about it, and they're starting to get into the space. So it's really exciting. And I think we can wrap it up here, but we'll be back on next week with another Crypto Boomers show. Hopefully George can join us, and any time that Jay can join us, it's a treat, and we really do appreciate it. And also look for Jay's given us permission to continue to give little pieces of some of his teachings, and we will do that. We normally try to add one of those a week that's 8 to 10 minutes, snippet out of a longer teaching that he does, so that you guys can kind of get a taste of what is available to you, the education that's available to you over at the Bitcoin Academy. And again, if you're interested, just go down to the link at the bottom and click on it and go see what they have to offer. But until next time, guys, you know, the main thing is we say it all the time, it's not just investing, it's creating wealth. We'll talk later. Thanks, everybody.